Ever get a text, the kind that just makes your stomach drop?
Ah.
A text makes you feel like something is terribly wrong.
Oh, yeah.
For the family of Morgan Patton, that text came on a November night in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of foreshadowed a tragedy that's still a mystery, even today.
Wow.
So imagine you're a parent, your 24-year-old daughter is off visiting her fiancé, who's a Marine stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Right.
She's responsible, always checks in,
Yeah.
and then poof, silence.
Oh,
Hours later, she's found dead
my God.
in this horrific car crash miles away
Yeah.
with 2 Marines that she's never even met.
Yeah.
And that's the nightmare that Morgan's family has been dealing with ever since.
What gets me about Morgan's case is that it wasn't just, the suddenness of it, but the whole thing is just so strange. Everything we know about Morgan, she was a cautious young woman, not the type to just run off with strangers.
Exactly.
But that's what it looks like happened.
It really does. So let's try to put this puzzle together, starting with that night, November 8th, 2019. This resident in Maysville, North Carolina, hears this deafening crash.
Yeah.
Right? He goes outside and finds a pickup truck.
Oh, no.
Totally mangled, wrapped around a tree,
Jeez.
beer cans, debris everywhere. Inside, 2 Marines, Hunter Wells, the driver,
Hi.
and Charlie Cornwall V's in the back.
Right.
And then there's Morgan, lifeless in the wreckage.
Oh, that's awful. The crash itself, it's just staggering.
Yeah.
They said that truck was going like 86 miles an hour when it hit that tree. I mean,
Yeah.
the impact was so violent, the debris field was like the size of a hockey rink.
Oh my gosh.
But the speed, it makes you wonder, why was Hunter driving so crazy?
Yeah.
And how did Morgan, who just got to Jacksonville to see her fiance, end up in that truck miles away from where she was supposed to be?
Right. It's like she just disappeared. We know Morgan had flown in from Massachusetts earlier that day to visit her fiancé, Philip Brandon,
Right.
at Camp Lejeune. She was staying at a hotel right next to an Applebee's,
Okay.
practically right next door. She even called her parents that evening, told them she was going to bed.
So how does she go from saying goodnight to her parents to being in a speeding truck with 2 men she doesn't even know?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
It's bizarre. This is where the timeline gets really murky. So after talking to her parents, Morgan was texting Philip.
Okay.
And in one of those messages, she mentioned something really odd. She talks about cocaine being smuggled onto the base,
What?
hidden in pizza deliveries.
Uh-huh.
And that's the last text she sends before the crash.
So strange. It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
A clue or something.
It's really eerie. And Philip confirmed they weren't talking about anything drug-related before that. It came out of nowhere.
That's so weird.
That text, plus the fact that Morgan wasn't someone who would just, take off with strangers,
Yeah.
it set off alarm bells for her family.
Mm-hmm.
They were convinced that something was really wrong.
They had every right to be.
And then Hunter's initial story about going shooting that night,
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't add up.
Oh, really?
There was no place to even shoot nearby. And honestly, no one believed that Morgan, who was deeply in love with Philip,
Yeah.
would have just gone off with these guys.
Totally.
So there's this huge gap in the timeline. Morgan disappears from the hotel, and then
Really?
boom, she's in the wreckage. But there were people at Applebee's that night, right?
Oh, so potential witnesses.
Exactly. The police talked to the bartender, Joshua, who
Uh-huh.
served Morgan, Hunter, and Charlie. He remembers them talking, having drinks,
Mm-hmm.
but even his memory's fuzzy. He couldn't say for sure who paid for what.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some initial confusion about Morgan leaving without paying her bill.
So nobody saw anything.
Well, it turns out that one of the Marines probably offered to cover her tab,
Okay.
but that lack of clarity, especially early on,
Yeah.
just fueled all the suspicion about that night. What's really weird is that no one at Applebee's saw Morgan leave with Hunter and Charlie.
Oh, wow.
No one remembers seeing them get into that truck,
Mm.
which makes her disappearance from the restaurant even more strange.
That's so bizarre.
And then there's the autopsy.
Yeah.
So the first blood sample showed Morgan's blood alcohol content, her BAC, was 0.13,
Okay.
almost twice the legal limit.
Wow.
You might think, okay, maybe she was drinking a lot and that explains some bad decisions.
Right. Right.
But here's the thing. A more reliable test
Okay.
using fluid from her eye
Uh-huh.
showed a BAC of just 0.02.
Wait, that's a huge difference.
Huge.
How's that even possible?
For folks who don't know, that fluid is called vitreous fluid.
Okay.
It's less likely to get contaminated or change after death compared to blood.
I see.
So it's way more accurate for figuring out BAC, especially in cases where there's been some time between death in the testing. This difference in the results, it makes you wonder about that initial BAC reading. Was it even reliable?
Yeah, I mean, a .02 versus a .13, that's a game changer.
Exactly. So why didn't they pay more attention to the vitreous fluid result?
Right. That seems like a big deal.
Was this just a mistake, or was there a reason to kind of downplay evidence that maybe didn't fit the narrative?
It makes you think.
It really does. If her BAC was really as low as that second test suggests,
Yeah,
it makes the idea of her willingly going with these men even more unlikely.
absolutely. It just doesn't add up.
And then there's other physical evidence that muddies the waters even more. Photos from the crash scene actually show a cut on Morgan's pants,
Really?
which wasn't even shared with her family at first.
Wow.
Was this from a struggle? Why wasn't this looked into more?
Yeah, that's a good question. And didn't they also find some DNA under her fingernails?
They did. Foreign male DNA, which could be from someone other than Hunter or Charlie.
That's a big deal. I mean, trace DNA, it can be hard to interpret for sure,
Right.
but you can't just ignore it.
No, it definitely suggests that Morgan might have been in contact with someone else before she died.
Exactly. It feels like every new piece of evidence we find just makes the whole thing more complicated.
We need to look at each piece really carefully if we want to figure out what happened to Morgan that night.
Absolutely. So let's start with Charlie. His memory of that night is, shall we say, hazy.
Hazy.
Very hazy. At first, he said he didn't remember anything about the crash,
Okay.
but later, he started remembering specific details,
Hmm.
some of which totally contradicted what he said before and even conflicted with other accounts. His story about where he lived,
Mm-hmm.
his relationship with Hunter, even where they were all sitting in the truck,
Right.
it all seemed to change over time.
That's so strange. Was he just confused because of the accident?
Maybe. It's possible he had something called trauma-induced amnesia, which can happen after a serious accident.
Oh, that's right.
But then his statements to military investigators were different from what he told civilian authorities.
Huh. That does make it more complicated.
It really does. So was he trying to protect himself, or was there something else going on? Good question. I mean, it's possible, right, that he was trying to, avoid any consequences.
Right.
Remember, the military investigation was mainly focused on whether Charlie did anything wrong, like underage drinking,
Yeah,
and if that would affect his disability payments.
right.
It's sad, but sometimes those institutions worry more about themselves than getting justice.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it gets even more tangled. That private investigator, hired by Morgan's family,
Yeah.
he finally got to interview Charlie face to face.
Oh, wow.
And guess what?
Huh.
Charlie suddenly couldn't remember much about the month before or after the crash.
Wow. Talk about convenient.
Right. It's like,
How does that even happen?
I know.
And he also changed his story about living with Hunter,
Yeah.
saying he only stayed there sometimes.
It seems like these memory lapses just happen at the best times,
Yeah, it does.
especially when it comes to things that could get him in trouble or tell us more about Morgan's last hours.
Exactly. And while he couldn't remember much about Hunter, he did say that Hunter was, quote, a questionable character.
Huh.
The kind of guy who would hit on another guy's fiance.
Almost sounds like he's trying to shift the blame, you know?
It does, doesn't it? It's like he's trying to make Hunter look worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And with those memory problems and saying he had impulse control issues,
Uh-huh.
Charlie still became a sheriff's deputy in Montana.
Wow. Are you serious?
It makes you wonder about how they choose these people, right? Should someone with a past like that be in charge of the law?
No, not really.
It's a tough question.
It is. And get this. The family didn't even know about the military investigation into Charlie until that private investigator started digging.
You're kidding.
I know. They finally got a hold of the report and were shocked by Charlie's statement.
What did he say?
He claimed he was wearing a seatbelt
Okay.
and that the hospital told him he had no alcohol in his system.
But that contradicts what the prosecutor has, right? With the medical records and everything.
Exactly. It's a direct contradiction.
That's crazy. How did the military just accept his word?
Well, the investigating officer just took Charlie's statements as truth,
Really?
even though there's evidence that says otherwise.
So was this a huge mistake, or was there pressure to protect him because he's a Marine?
It makes you wonder.
It really does. This lack of transparency from the military is just not right.
No, especially for a family that's desperate for answers.
Yeah.
It makes you think, if Morgan had been a Marine,
Yeah,
would they have handled her case differently?
probably.
It feels like they focused so much on what Charlie might have done wrong
Uh-huh.
that they forgot about investigating what happened to Morgan.
It's a classic example of what happens when a big organization like that tries to protect itself instead of finding the truth.
Sadly, yeah.
It's a shame.
So let's talk about Hunter for a second.
Okay.
Remember, the private investigator was finding holes in his story, too.
Yeah, yeah.
He told different versions of that night to different people.
Oh, really?
One story was about hitting another car.
Right.
Another had Morgan making out with Charlie.
Huh.
And then there were different accounts of where Morgan was even sitting in the truck.
So many different stories. It sounds like he was trying to make up the best one for each person.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to hide something.
It makes you question what his real intentions were, you know.
Exactly. Why change your story so many times unless you're trying to cover something up?
Right. And then his behavior after the crash, it's just weird.
Oh, yeah.
There's no real remorse.
Mhm.
Just doesn't feel right.
Especially with something so serious.
Exactly.
Mm.
It makes you doubt anything he says and makes you think he might be involved in Morgan's death.
It really does. So we have these two Marines
Yeah.
with their shady stories.
Uh-huh.
But what about Morgan? What do we really know about what she went through that night?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have these little bits of information, these conflicting stories. But we still don't know what happened to Morgan in those hours before the crash.
Yeah. Right.
Did she go with Hunter and Charlie willingly? Or was something else going on? Was she forced into that situation?
Those are the questions we need answers to.
Exactly. Let's revisit that weird text about the cocaine.
Okay.
It's been hanging over this whole thing. Could it be connected to Morgan's death? Was it just random gossip? Or did she stumble onto something dangerous?
It's definitely worth looking into more. It's possible that by telling Philip, she accidentally made herself a target.
Right.
Maybe she overheard something at Applebee's or saw something suspicious.
It's an interesting lead, but it seems like the investigators didn't really pay attention to it.
No, they didn't.
And then there's that gap in the timeline.
Right.
We know she left Applebee's.
Yeah.
But no one saw her leave with Hunter and Charlie.
Those missing hours before the crash, they're crucial.
They are.
Something happened during that time that put her in that truck.
Was she coerced? Tricked? Was she taken against her will? We need to find out what happened.
It's the only way to know what really happened to Morgan Patton.
And it's just awful to think about what Morgan must have gone through in those final hours.
Absolutely.
Her family deserves answers, and yet, years later, there are still so many questions.
It's heartbreaking.
It's tragic, really. Even with all the info out there, the pieces just don't fit. It's like this nagging feeling that something's off, that there's more to this story than we know.
It really makes you think about how, even with all our tech and data, some mysteries just stay mysteries.
Yeah.
And in Morgan's case, it's even harder because the distance, you know? Her family is so far away from where it all happened.
Right.
It makes it tough to keep the pressure on to make sure people don't forget about her.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking to think that distance can be a roadblock to justice. It's harder to keep the case in the public eye, to push for thorough investigations when you're not there.
Definitely.
But even with the distance and the lack of answers, Morgan's family hasn't given up. They've taken their grief and turned it into action. They started the Morgan's Miles to Go Foundation.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It helps young people and supports victims of violent crime.
That's incredible. They're turning something terrible into something good.
Yeah, they're not only fighting for Morgan, but they're trying to prevent this from happening to others. It shows how strong they are, how even with such pain, there's still hope.
I agree. It's inspiring.
So where do things stand now? It's been years, and Hunter's finally going to trial.
Okay.
He's facing charges of felony death by vehicle, involuntary manslaughter, and DWI.
So he's finally facing consequences.
He is. But there's a chance of a plea deal, which could mean a lighter sentence.
How does the family feel about that?
It's probably tough. They want justice, but a plea deal might not feel like enough.
Right. It's a complicated situation.
And then there's Charlie. He's living his life as a sheriff's deputy in Montana.
Wow.
Like nothing happened.
That's hard to swallow.
Yeah, it shows how the legal system doesn't always give us the closure we need.
Right. It doesn't always feel fair.
Sometimes finding the truth is a long, hard road, and we don't always get what we want in the end. But even when we don't have all the answers, we can't stop asking questions. We have to remember those we've lost, and we have to keep pushing for a world where tragedies like this don't happen.
I completely agree. So after hearing all this, what are your thoughts? What stands out to you? Do you think Morgan chose to get in that truck, or was there something more sinister at play?
Morgan's story is a reminder that even with all the information we have, some things remain hidden. It makes us question, to dig deeper, to demand answers, and to never give up on the truth. We hope you'll visit the Morgan's Miles to Go Foundation website to learn more about her story and maybe even help their mission. The search for answers might be ongoing, but the fight for justice for Morgan Patton can't stop. Her story shows us that every life matters, and even when faced with tragedy, we should never stop searching for the truth.